Hello everyone, welcome to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. Today is Wednesday, January 6th, and I've got your top stories from WKYC.com. Today we start with breaking news out of Washington, D.C. There is a very tense situation happening in the Capitol as protesters from President Donald Trump's Save America rally have breached the Capitol building, where members of the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate are in the process of debating the certification of Electoral College votes. The latest information that we have from House pool reports, as reported by outlets, is there is actually an armed standoff happening at the House front door where weapons have been drawn and members of Congress are sheltering in place in the House and have been told, some of them, to evacuate. Protesters have made their way into the Capitol building. What we're seeing from video that we have up on the WKYC Facebook page and also on the WKYC YouTube channel, which is live video happening right now in Washington, D.C., we've seen police officers deploying pepper spray after the crowds began charging officers and moving towards the Capitol steps. These protesters who are in favor of President Donald Trump marched to the Capitol and breached police barricades, making their way into the building outside of Senate chambers. These people have been seen forcefully removing metal barriers meant to keep space between police and the crowds, and Capitol police officers are in riot gear as they are trying to keep space between the crowds and the Capitol building and hold the line. The Capitol, as of right now in Washington, D.C., has been placed on lockdown, and police have ordered evacuations of several buildings, and as such, the certification of the Electoral College votes was delayed. We did see reports earlier that Vice President Mike Pence was hustled out of the Senate chamber and that there was chaos in the building and police officers shouting into the offices as the protesters did breach the Capitol building, with people sheltering in place in the House and the Senate. And we also have reports that the mayor of Washington, D.C. has instituted a 6 p.m. curfew as of right now. Now, the latest thing that President Donald Trump has tweeted, I'll read that to you right now. This was just 15 minutes ago as of 2:54 p.m. President Donald Trump tweeted, "Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful." The president not asking people to stand down, but asking them to stay peaceful there. And just before tweeting that, about 30 minutes ago, President Donald Trump tweeted this: "Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands the truth." Now, of course, this tweet from President Donald Trump includes baseless claims of fraud related to the election, which is something that he has been talking about since the election in November. But multiple agencies, multiple courts of law have seen no evidence of any fraudulent activity that would have changed the results of the election, which have resulted in President-elect Joe Biden taking office. Now, at the rally, which preceded these protesters breaching the Capitol building, President Donald Trump told supporters that he would never concede the presidential election. There were thousands of supporters there, as you can see if you check the videos on WKYC.com, also on our Facebook and our YouTube pages. And at that rally, President Donald Trump said that our country has had enough and we won't take it anymore. And that's when he was talking about hoping that Vice President Mike Pence would do something to stop the certification of the Electoral College vote, which is why Congress is meeting today. Now, people did object. Republicans did object to the certification of that Electoral College vote. So when this happened, members of the House and members of the Senate were in the process of debating those objections. However, that has been paused because of the protesters that have breached the building and effectively put Washington, D.C. in a state of lockdown right now. Reporters there have said that they have not seen anything like this in Washington, D.C., based on the certification of an election and something at this point. So the situation, again, very tense. We will keep you updated with up-to-the-minute updates as soon as we have them from WKYC.com. We have a sister station in Washington, D.C., WUSA, so we are getting updates from the ground from our sister station, WUSA, which is the station that serves the Washington, D.C. area. What we do know about the Electoral College certification of those votes is that at least 140 Republican members of the House and a dozen senators were planning to object to the results, and that did begin today as that process was opened. And Mike Pence did open that process, which is largely a procedural, very ceremonial role that the Vice President holds in this process of certifying the Electoral College votes. And President Donald Trump taking issue with that in that tweet. He had been calling on Pence for days now to try to get him to do something to stop the certification of the Electoral College votes. It was reported by the New York Times that Pence told President Trump this week that he simply could not do that. However, the president came out with a statement of his own refuting that reporting, saying that Vice President Mike Pence never said that to him, but the New York Times did stand by that reporting. Now, what we know here of our senators and representatives in Ohio is that Republican Senator Rob Portman and Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown both were not going to object to the certification of the Electoral College votes. Senator Brown taking that a step forward and saying, tweeting out, any senator who objects to certifying the election results is betraying their oath of office. However, several of our Republican U.S. representatives did say that they did plan to object to the certification. Here in Ohio, in the U.S. House of Representatives, we have 16 representatives. 12 of those are Republicans. Now, the representatives that we know of that did plan to object to the certification of the Electoral College include Representative Jim Jordan, Representative Warren Davidson, Representative Bob Gibbs, and Representative Bill Johnson. Representative Anthony Gonzalez, Republican out of Rocky River, said that he would not object to the certification of the Electoral College vote today. However, again, that has been paused because as of right now, protesters have breached the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. It is a very tense situation. It's a fluid situation. We have live updates on WKYC.com, on our Facebook page, also on our YouTube page. All of this is happening against the backdrop of Georgia's Senate runoff election, which that final votes, the in-person voting was yesterday. The runoff election date was January 5th. And overnight, NBC projected that Democrat Reverend Raphael Warnock did beat Republican incumbent Kelly Loeffler. Another race, two races for the Senate happening there, are Republican incumbent David Perdue and Democratic candidate Jon Ossoff. Also overnight, Ossoff took the lead over Perdue, and of the last count, with 99% of the votes reporting, Ossoff was leading the Democrat by 17,500 votes. Now, this is crucial to the balance of power in the Senate because prior to this, the Senate was sitting at 48 Republicans and 50 Democrats. So winning those two seats, retaining those two seats for the Republicans would have kept them having control of the Senate. However, if this lead holds for Ossoff and the projected winner being Warnock, the Democrats would take control of the Senate with a tie-breaking vote from incoming Vice President Kamala Harris. So that's where that stands right now, with 99% of those votes been reported in the state of Georgia. And as those votes come in, of course, we'll also continue to give you those updates on WKYC.com and our social media platforms. Here in Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine had a one-on-one conversation with our 3 News' Maureen Kyle about COVID-19 vaccines and the reason for the slow rollout here in Ohio. And it was on Sunday on CNN's State of the Union that Governor DeWine told Jake Tapper that here in Ohio, we've got 529,000 COVID-19 vaccines here, but only 160,000 have been given out. Well, he said that that's because we don't have enough of the vaccine. This is directly in contrast to something that Governor Mike DeWine previously said. He previously said that when we got these shipments of both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine here in Ohio, that we would be getting second shipments for those second doses. But that's actually not what's happening. According to what he told Maureen Kyle, is that we're having to bank the shots in order to be able to provide that second dose to people. DeWine told Maureen Kyle that we need to get the vaccine into Ohio, of course, as soon as we can, but we don't control how much vaccine we get here in Ohio, and that is what is slowing down the process. He also said, as of Sunday, 61% of nursing homes had gotten a first visit from a pharmacy in order to start that 1A COVID-19 vaccination process, because those are in that priority group. but only 40% of staff who had the opportunity to get the vaccine when it was offered opted in to get that vaccine. So what DeWine has said moving forward is that he's hoping that we get more options for the vaccine beyond the Pfizer and beyond the Moderna, and get more things with that FDA emergency approval here in Ohio so that we can move along that vaccination process. Now, we do have that full interview up on WKYC.com and also on our YouTube pages. But there is one place where you can get testing. If you are looking for a place to get COVID-19 testing, Cleveland Hopkins Airport is now offering on-site COVID-19 testing to the public. You don't have to be a traveler in order to get this test. They're offering both the PCR test, the test that takes a bit longer to get the results back but has been seen as more reliable, and also the rapid antigen tests. The rapid tests get the results back in 15 minutes, and that'll come to your phone. But again, the rapid test has not been seen to be quite as reliable as that PCR test. In terms of the cost of these tests at Cleveland International Airport, the rapid test is $95. Again, you get those results in about 15 minutes. The PCR test is $135. Those results arrive by email or text message in 24 to 48 hours. And if you do opt to get both of those tests, it is a bit less expensive. It's $175, so you don't have to pay for both of those tests individually. If you want to, you can group them together and pay a little bit less. That's it for your 3 News Now update on what's happening in the state of affairs in politics. I do want to give you the COVID-19 numbers that we have now before we go here. Here's the latest numbers that we have in from the Ohio Department of Health. There have been 7,814 new COVID-19 cases reported today. That's up from yesterday. And 121 people have been reported to have died related to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. In terms of our positive rate, the latest data that we have comes from Monday. The daily positive rate for tests on Monday was 19.8%, and the 7-day average for positive tests as of Monday was 15%, which is slightly down from what we've seen. In the last 24 hours, we've seen 454 people who have been newly hospitalized with COVID-19, bringing that total number to now 4,319 people who are in the hospital right now being treated for COVID-19. Of those people, 1,021 of them are in the intensive care unit, and we've seen 43 new ICU admissions in the last 24 hours. Right now in Ohio, 25% of our hospital beds are currently available. Now let's take a look at the national and the global COVID-19 numbers. In the U.S., according to Johns Hopkins University, the total number of COVID-19 cases is now at 21,145,275. The total number of deaths in the U.S. is at 359,077. When we compare that to the total population, the U.S. has 4% of the global population, but 24.4% of the cases and 19.1% of the COVID-19 deaths. Globally, there have now been 86,809,552 reported cases of COVID-19 and a total of 1,876,156 COVID-19 deaths. Now, before we close out your 3 News Now update today for Wednesday, I just want to take another quick check and make sure the president hasn't made any other statements related to the unrest that's happening in Washington, D.C. at this time. The last statement that we have from President Donald Trump came via Twitter. That was 26 minutes ago as of 3:05 p.m., and he said, "Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful." Again, the president choosing not to ask his supporters to step down, but is asking them to stay peaceful at this time. These are the same supporters who have breached the Capitol building and have caused a pause in the Electoral College certification debate process because some members of Congress have already objected to the certification of the Electoral College vote. We did hear comments from Senate Majority Leader, for the time being, Mitch McConnell. Of course, it will remain to be seen whether he remains the Senate Majority Leader based on what happens with that remaining race in Georgia. He did say that he was against Republicans objecting to the certification of the Electoral College vote, as did current Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Also said that he was against that and we needed to go about the business of certifying the Electoral College vote, as that is the duty of the Congress, and it is not within Congress's constitutional powers to change the result, and that the states had also chosen to send their electors. They could have chosen to send other electors. They did not, so on and so forth. Prior to that, President Donald Trump, 41 minutes ago, again, this is as of 3:07 p.m., tweeted that Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands the truth. Again, in that tweet from the president, baseless claims about election fraud and irregularities that have been proven repeatedly from his own administration, from former U.S. Attorney William Barr, that there was no evidence of any fraud or any irregularities within the election process that would have resulted in a different result than President-elect Joe Biden to be inaugurated on January 20th with the requisite amount of Electoral College votes. Again, this is a developing situation in Washington, D.C. The area is basically on a lockdown with police. Police are there in riot gear. There's been pepper spray and flashbangs deployed, and senators and members of the House of Representatives are sheltering in place as people have breached the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. We have up-to-the-minute updates on WKYC.com, also on our WKYC Facebook page and our WKYC YouTube channel, of course, all of our social media platforms, on our Twitter following, and so on and so forth. That's it for your 3 News Now update for Wednesday, January 5th. Stay with WKYC.com for more updates. I'm Stephanie Haney.